Hello, welcome to Uplift. My name is Reverend Sam Flynn, and I'm happy to be with you today. It's good to see you. Well, not see you because I don't see you, but you see me, so it's good to be with you. So let's start off today with prayer. That's always a good place to start. And so just going within and knowing that we are here today in that one spirit that is God, and knowing that God is indeed love, that we are here in that space of love together, going into that relaxing moment of knowing that uplifted space of grace, knowing that uplifted space of wholeness and truth and relaxation and inspiration. And so I know today my heart is open, and that hearts are open everywhere to receive and to allow and to be in that space of inspiration and rest and goodness and peace. And so I know our time together is just that, a space of inspiration and peace. So I just give thanks for it, and I simply let it be now, knowing it is perfect, and so it is. And so I'm happy to be with you today, and I'm glad that we get to do this. And I noticed today that my topic, I'm going to talk today about promises and commitment. And I'm so interested how this came about, because usually when I do these talks, I have sort of an idea of what I'm going to talk about. And this month I didn't. And so what I did is I just put it out to Spirit, and I said, what would you like me to talk about this month? And within a day, I think it was the very next day, as a matter of fact, the topic came into my mind of promises and commitment. And I was really surprised, and my heart kind of started beating fast, and I got a little bit nervous, and I didn't quite know what to do, because I thought, really? Is that what you want me to talk about? Really? And, I didn't quite know what to do. And so I thought, well, okay, I guess that is a good thing then. And so I'll just talk about promises and commitment. And so that's what I'm going to do. And it turned out very interesting. So here we go. That's what we're going to talk about today, promises and commitment. And so I wanted to, as I let it unfold, I just really investigated the topic, and I allowed it to open in my heart. And I did some investigating online, and I found some very interesting results. And so I want to talk about it specifically today, how these two words, promises and commitment, apply in a daily sort of way, because I just kind of lived with it for a couple of weeks. And what I found out is there's really two ways to think about it. Promises and commitment, a lot of people think of it in kind of just the words, two different words that mean actually the same thing. And it's really just a matter of semantics. And, they just mean I'm going to do something. I'm telling you that I promise to do something, or I'm committed to do this specific thing, whatever it might be, a behavior or an act, or I'm committing to do a certain thing, or I'm going to be a certain place, or I'm going to think a certain way. And it's just indicating that I'm going to be doing something in the future. And it's really just words to describe something to another person, or maybe to yourself. This is what I'm going to be doing. And there's really two parts about it. Usually where and when and what. Three parts. Where and when and what I will be doing in the future. And so it's really just two words, promise and commit, that describe the same thing. And like I said, it's really a matter of semantics. And so that's one way to think about it. And really the first level, I would say, calling it between promise and commitment, the first level of thinking of those two words is a way in semantics, and talking about what I will be doing in the future. And so I just kind of lived with that for a little while, and then I just kept going a little further, and I thought, well, that's a good idea. Let's think of it that way, promises and commitment. And I started thinking about how I live with those ideas, and how do I, let me look at myself as far as promises and commitment. And so I would invite you to do the same thing. Think about how do I keep my promises? Do you keep your promises? How do I feel about making promises? How do I feel when other people make promises to me? Or how do I feel when I break promises? How does that feel? How do I feel when promises are broken that people have made to me? How do I feel about making commitments? Does that seem different than making a promise? So I would invite you to think about those ideas and just live with those for a little while and see how that resonates with you. It's really an interesting topic, promises and commitment. And so what I found also as I continued to think about this was that it's easier to make promises and commitments in some areas of my life than other areas. And so again, think about this for yourself, because for me, and this will be different for every person, for me, it's easier to make commitments in areas like jobs. When I go to my job, it's easy to make a promise or a commitment because Well, because I know I have to if I want to make money is one reason, but it's easy for me to make a commitment at a job or with exercising. You know, I like to exercise. A lot of people don't, but I do. And so it's easy for me to make a commitment there, or with friendships or appointments, things like that. It's easy for me to make a promise and follow through on it. I'm an honest kind of a person, so it's easy for me to be honest about things. But for other things, it's very, very challenging for me to make a commitment. And other people too, like marriage. I really don't want to make a commitment to marriage. Or losing weight. It's hard to make a commitment for me to losing weight, and so on and so on. People have different arenas, that some are easy, some are hard. So again, it's just a matter of looking at ourselves and having some introspection about different avenues of promise and commitment and how those work together. So it's really worth a deep dive, I can tell you, on these arenas of promise and commitment into your life. It's really worth a deep dive in doing that. And so, like I said, the story continues, or it did for me. The story continues with the deep dive, as it did with Abraham Lincoln, who quoted. I found this really cool quote from Abraham Lincoln. He says, "Commitment is what transforms a promise into a reality." Let me read that again. A commitment is what transforms a promise into a reality. And also Peter Drucker wrote, "Unless a commitment is made, there are only promises and hopes, but no plans." And so this moves into the next stage, the next level of those ideas of promises and commitments, and that is that a commitment is sort of a deeper level of a promise. A commitment includes action. It includes an action that fulfills a promise that is made. And so as you go, like on the deep dive, like I was talking about, of this idea of commitments and promises, the commitment is that next level of a promise and includes action. It is the underlying idea that fulfills the promise. Here's somebody said, a promise is simply the words. It is not the subject of the words. And so I really like this. Somebody said that it might be said that promise are made at the pleasure of the person saying them, because they work it for the time at hand. I can just say a promise whenever I want to, but I don't really have to mean it. You know, the commitment is something that I mean, that I have sincere appreciation for, that I have a sincere commitment to follow. The commitment is something that I have a sincere intention to follow. And so promises, for example, have you made these promises before? I promised to keep my room clean. Do you remember making that promise at some time? I promised to drive in the speed limit. I promised to, I don't know, keep whatever it might be. Promises are simple and small, and they may or may not be followed. It works in the moment, but it's likely not forever. Commitments are more long-term. Commitments are guiding principles of your behavior. They're something that are within us, that guide us, that lead us, that hold us in safety, that hold us in to be inspired by. So it's things like honesty. Is this an honest thing that I'm getting ready to do? So you're doing something, you ask, is this honest? In a business, for example, you have a guiding behavior for your business. So you might ask, is this next product that I'm looking at, does this follow the lead of what I want to do for my business? In a relationship, does this follow my thoughts about what a relationship should be? So it's, like I said, it's the ideas that you're committed to for a certain project. Promises tend to be more like one-time events. So sometimes commitments take a bad rap. And here's what I mean by that. Commitments take a bad rap. So in poking around on the topic, I was like poking around on the internet and talking to people about it and stuff. there's a couple things I want to share about that part, because in order to get out of commitments, some people have ideas about them that aren't quite, that are different that I share, that I heard other people share, or they speak about it from the negative side instead of the positive side. One of those is Napoleon Bonaparte, believe it or not. He writes, "The best way to keep your word is not to give it." The best way to keep your word is not to give it in the first place. So, in a sense, that's writing about it from the negative side. All right, it's coming around from the backside. Norman Douglas, this was a good one. "Never take a solemn oath because people think you'll mean it." So again, talking about the idea of commitment from the backside. Never take an oath because people think you need it. So some people are really reluctant to make commitments at all. Again, it can be where people make commitments on some subjects and not others, or people make them when they're very serious about them. Yeah, that's all I'll say about that part. So moving on to the application of these two ideas, I have a couple of quotes that I want to read you. One is from Johann Goth, that he says the idea of commitment begins without the guarantee of any success. So I love that. Commitment begins without any guarantee of success. Say my commitment is to be honest. I really don't have a guarantee of success, but I have this idea that I want to be honest. There's not a specific thing that I have commitment to success for, a specific thing to have, let me get this right, a specific thing that I know I'm going to be successful at, but I have this idea that I want to be honest. So that fits. Les Brown writes, "You need to make a commitment, and once you make it, life will give you some answers." This one I love. Once you make a commitment, life will give you answers. And so again, the universe starts responding to thoughts that we believe, okay? And so from a spiritual perspective, that starts to lead into the spiritual idea. The universe will respond to our commitments, to our beliefs. And so the commitment that I know the universe has to us always, the commitment the universe has to us always is that the universe is a loving place, that the universe responds to our thoughts and beliefs, that the universe responds for the same for everyone, that the universe is an abundant, peaceful, powerful, beautiful, wise, and harmonious space, that it is always the same. And that is the biggest, largest, most full and complete commitment that there is. This is one commitment that we can always rely on. And so I have to bring it back to this because that's where I ended up too. And that is the biggest commitment that we have from spirit, from the universe, from whatever word you want to call it. It doesn't matter what word you use, but it is that spiritual commitment that we live with every single day, within us, around us, through us, and for us. And that is that unfaltering spirit commitment that spirit has to us, within us all the time. And so all we need to do is become aware of it. It is a promise and it is a commitment. It is the fullness of life within us all the time, and it is each of us. And so I would invite each of us to go in that truth, in that promise, and live with that awareness in us each and every moment. And we're going to end today with prayer with that commitment. And so I just give thanks for our time together today. I give thanks for these words, that promise that Spirit gives us, that commitment that we know in our hearts, that is the truth of love, that is the truth of givingness, that is the truth of grace that lives in us each and every moment, allowing us to remember that it is that commitment to love, that promise, that conviction that we hold within us all the time, knowing that Spirit is that guiding inspiration, that guiding love, that guiding embrace that holds us dear in each and every moment That is the one truth, that commandment that we can always be aware of, always hang on to, always rest in each and every moment. So I just give thanks for all of this, and I simply let it be now, and so it is. And so thank you for being with me today, and I just hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.